now? Which one is headed for disconnection? Write that down. Priorities, priority bills, however you want to write it. You can write it cute if you want to, but make sure you just got the priority ones. Put them in order. Which ones can wait a while? All right. And so that's all I'm going to have you do for that, because you already got a lot. And when we come back next week, we're going to add some more to that. Like I said, we're building a financial, basically, portfolio. This is going to help you to see where you're at. What are some things that you can change? You know, some people, they'll buy the most expensive things just because they're approved for it. People will spend credit cards just because they're approved for it. I ain't going to lie, I used to do it too. Give me a credit card and I'll show you how to blow it. I used to do it too. But when I got my credit report and I look back over my life now, some of the things that I did 10, 20 years ago, I would not do right now. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. When you get into a state of financial, where you have not managed your money at all, where you have not took time to manage your money, where you haven't took time to condition your mindset to saying, I will not be in this condition, in this state again. When you haven't taken that time to do that, to speak over your life and your finances, I'm going to tell you something. When they start falling apart, it's hard. It's really hard. And especially if you got to build back up by yourself. See, I had to build from scratch. I had to come all the way back from the scratch. The only thing I was left with was my house. It was just the inside of a house. I lost all my furniture. 2015, didn't have no furniture. All I had was one chair and one table in my house. That's it. My grandchildren come, they had to sit on the floor. I lost a lot of stuff because of this financial thing. I couldn't keep up maintenance on the home because I didn't have no money to do it, because I was steady owing everybody. But I came up with a financial plan. I said, look, I did bankruptcy before, and I had to wait 7 years for that junk to come off my credit report. I said, I'm not going that route again. Lord, teach me what I need to do. So as I began to pray more over my financial situations, you know what the Spirit was saying? The Spirit was saying, are you willing to lose something to gain? Glory to God. Are you willing to lose the game? And I got kind of scared, and I was like, what the world? But this was how my heart was speaking. Are you willing to lose the game? And I was like, oh, my God. I didn't know what it meant at first, but I do now. I do now. About 50, 60 pounds lighter. I know what it means now. But when God got done with me, I had a whole plan written out. I had a whole vision written out from top to bottom, tablet full. Not really, but but I had a plan that God had given me. He gave me the knowledge and wisdom to do this and the strength to endure the process. And God will do the same thing for you. Wherever you're lacking, whatever you need, you know what? It's going to take work. It's going to take work. Don't let people tell you that you can just speak stuff and it's just going to fall in your lap. Now, sometimes that will happen, but faith without works is dead. And to please God, you got to have faith in Him. That means that you're going to trust the process. And during the process, you're not going to give up. You're not going to waver. And we have a lot of women who will waver at the first sight of something going wrong. I had some trouble come about 2 days ago, financial trouble. It wasn't bad on my end, but it was how I got done that was the most hurtful thing. Is to know that you work hard to save up money, to have things done a certain way, and then just because you're a female, they take advantage of you whenever they don't see no man with you. A lot of guys take advantage of you. And I was like, Lord, I want to cut up. I want to show off. That was the flesh talking. That was my flesh talking. And after I went in my room and I sat down and I started praying, I was like, Lord, you know what? This is yours. And after I did that, when I woke up this morning, I had a plan. I had a plan of what I was going to do to get what I needed without having to harm anybody, without having to talk junk to anybody or anything like that. I had a plan this morning, and it was from God. And I believe that if you pray on it tonight, on your financial situation, that God will give you a plan too. He will give you his plan. And his plan is for you to prosper. That's what his plan is, for you to prosper. So what happened was, with my thing was, when I wrote it out, my plan was to last. It was to last 3 years. 3 years. I kind of came over into the 4th year, but it was the last 3 years. I wrote out everything just like I'm telling y'all to write out tonight. I did try to go to a lawyer one time and file bankruptcy, but the way the Lord was working it, every lawyer I went to, they said, no, you don't even have enough bills to do that. So everybody turned me down. So I went back to the plan, went back to the original plan, which was to write everything out, talk with my debtors, let them know what situation I was in, let them know what I could do and what I could not do. In other words, I had to come back to my money truth, and I had to find where my money trail was going. Where was all my money going? All my money was going one way, which was basically on my car. My car was taking a lot of money from me out of my mouth, and the reason why that was because I was making late payments. Every time I made a late payment, guess what? The interest on it was $285. Every time I made a late payment. And you know what? According to North Carolina law, there's nothing I can do about it because that's the agreement that I signed. So there was nothing I could do about it but come up with a plan to try to pay that vehicle off as soon as possible. So I started making. Listen, you remember I told you you gotta lose the game. I started making $300. I started making anywhere from $350 to $400 a month payments. It took food out my mouth. I went on bare minimum, but I was determined to get that car paid off because I knew once I got that paid off, everything else would just start falling in place. I was determined, and along the way, while I'm paying that, I'm paying off other little bills too, other little bills that I had. So by the time I ended my 3-year plan, guess what? I had my car paid off. I paid off my car, and all my other bills were paid off too. Now, where I'm at now financially, I am healthy right now because I don't owe nobody like that. Only thing I owe now is a light bill and my car insurance. And what's taking now is starting a plan to remodel my home. I had to lose the game. I had to let things go. I had to not be afraid to let things and people go. I had to be not ashamed of my condition, but blessed. See, when you're ashamed of your condition, you won't ask for help. I knew I needed the help. I knew every time I turned around, my car was up for repo. And I knew God was working on me and making me stronger each time. See, I don't come to lie to nobody. Because the world already got too many lies out here for you. But there is a way that you can build your own financial plan, but you have to be conditioned for it, and you have to be disciplined for it. You have to be self-disciplined to stick to it. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. Didn't I say I lost 60-some pounds? I lost 60-some pounds, and my health took a turn. For the worse. I started having vitamin D problems. I got malnutrition during the process. I ended up with a big old hole in my stomach during the process because of the malnutrition. My skin got too thin, and then after losing all the weight, which was over 200-some pounds in all over the last 10 years. So now I had all this excess skin that's weighing down on my joints, was causing pain on my knees and my elbows. I suffered. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy. I ain't been on a vacation in 4 years. I haven't been on a vacation in 4 years. But I had to be strict with myself. Otherwise, that debt was going to take me out anyway. It would have caused me to stress so bad, to high blood pressure and all that stuff, mental illness starting. And that's why I'm trying to prevent somebody tonight from having to go through emotional spirals like that. Because you don't have to. You just have to sit down and see where you're at. You have to sit down and be honest with yourself about where you're at. And if I would have had somebody to teach me these things long time ago, would it have made a difference? I doubt it, because when you're in your own, mind, see, what made the difference was when I gave my life to God. See, I didn't have common sense. I didn't have money sense when I was just out here in the world trying to get it, spend it. I didn't have common sense. But see, it was when I gave my life to God that the scales started falling off my eyes, and I was like, you know what? I want to do more. I want to do more good things. My vision was to do more good things, to help more people. But I had to figure out a way that I could still help people while helping myself too. So you can't give up on yourself either. And when you're going through financial troubles, a lot of women don't like to admit it, that they're in a financial bind, because it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. There was a few times when I felt embarrassed about where I was at. But then when I would think about where I was going to be, glory to God, that didn't last long. I'm trying to tell you, it didn't last long. So what I'm trying to tell y'all tonight is, whenever you have your financial means in order, whenever you have your money management, when you start learning these skills, you do better. See, I lacked the knowledge back then, too. I lacked the knowledge, so I couldn't do better with what I didn't know what to do with, you know. And you don't see these things often until it's too late, till it creeps right up on you, and you're like, God, I didn't realize I had this much debt. But if you really write it out and see what's going on, see where your money is going, follow the trail. I want you also to put in that scope. How many times are you eating out at restaurants? Make sure that you add that on there, too. As a matter of fact, just put on there, God, what do they call it? Luxury. That's what you might as well call it. You're eating out every day. Put on your habits, luxury. Like if you're eating at restaurants, if you're staying at hotels, write all that on there. Into your scope, please. Into the scope. It's going to make a big difference, because you're going to see how much money you're spending at the restaurants. And I tell you, when I did mine in bankruptcy, come to find out I was spending around $350 a month at restaurants. I was spending a lot of money just on restaurant food. And do you know how much healthier it is to cook at home? I'm not a vegetarian, but a majority of my food that I had to eat to survive was beans, cabbage, any kind of fruits and vegetables. That's what I mainly ate to survive during the time that beans and rice. Hey, you have to go back to what you know, which was familiar already, and which actually was my favorite food. So I didn't have no problem with eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. I didn't have no problem at all with it, because I was already conditioned for that, because that's what I like anyway. So it'll take you back to something familiar, and you'll look at it and you'll be like, wow. And you'll start feeling the weights drop off of you, and you'll see how much simpler life really is. When we don't know better, that's when we make it complicated. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Any comments or questions? Okay, I'm trying to find some of my things here that I had, my notes. We got a few more minutes here. I'm going to read to y'all a little more about project management, and hopefully this will give you a clearer version of what it is. Okay. And I do really want y'all to Google it so that you really can read up on what the scope is, so that you can add everything in there that needs